I can't do underground parking garages anymore, I just can't. My palms get slick the second I start down the ramp, my throat tightens up. It's the smell, I think. That mix of damp concrete, old exhaust fumes, and something else, something stagnant. And the sounds. The way every little noise echoes and amplifies, a car door slamming 2 levels down sounds like a gunshot right next to your ear. I'll park half a mile away in a blizzard just to stay on street level in the open air. My friends think it's a weird quirk. Jess, my girlfriend, she thinks it's just anxiety. They don't get it, it all goes back to that night. To him, to Connor. That's what the cops told me his name was, Connor. I don't remember the fight itself, not really. It's all just a blur of adrenaline and pure animal terror. Flashes. The glint of his knife under the flickering fluorescent lights, the shocking, wet warmth that bloomed across my hand when it happened. The sickening thud his body made against the concrete. My brain, for whatever reason, decided to edit all that out, leaving just the fuzzy, traumatic highlights. But the part it recorded in perfect, crystal clear 4000, the part it plays for me in slow motion every single night, is what came after. He was on his back, the life just draining out of him onto the greasy floor, and he just stared at me. There was no hate in his eyes, no fear. Not even pain, and he should have been in agony. It was just calm. A terrifying, settled kind of calm, like he was looking right through me at something on the other side. And his expression, God, his expression just said one thing, clear as a bell: I'll wait for you. That's the look I see every time I close my eyes. It's the reason I can't go down there. Because I just know that he's in every single one of them. Waiting. For the first few months, I almost convinced myself I was okay. I went back to work. I'm a data analyst for a mid-sized logistics company, nothing exciting. I went out for drinks with friends. Jess and I fell back into our old routines. On the surface, everything was normal. I was the guy who got lucky, the guy who survived. Everyone kept telling me how brave I was, how strong. I just nodded and smiled, but inside the cracks were starting to show. It began with sounds, little things. I'd be sitting in our apartment, the quiet hum of the city outside, and I'd hear it. A soft, scraping sound from the basement laundry room. The kind of sound a worn-out sneaker sole makes when it drags on rough concrete. I'd freeze, every muscle in my body tensing up, my ears straining. Jess would ask what was wrong, and I'd just shake my head. Nothing, thought I heard something. She'd tell me it was just the pipes or the old building settling. And I wanted to believe her, I really did. I told myself it was just my brain playing tricks on me, replaying the soundtrack of that night. The psychologist called them auditory flashbacks. It sounded so clinical, so manageable. Then came the visual stuff, quick, darting movements in my peripheral vision. I'd be driving, and for a split second, I'd see a figure reflected in the rearview mirror, sitting in my back seat. My heart would slam against my ribs, and I'd whip my head around to find nothing but empty space. Or I'd be washing my hands, and in the splash of water on the bathroom mirror, I'd see a distorted face looking back over my shoulder. It was never clear, always just a shape, a silhouette. A tall, thin man, a man shaped like Connor. Each time it happened, a wave of cold dread would wash over me, followed by a desperate, frantic need to rationalize it. It's PTSD, I'd whisper to myself, my breath fogging up the glass. It's just the trauma. I clung to that diagnosis like a life raft. It was my shield against the terrifying alternative. Because the feeling wasn't like a memory. It felt like I was being watched, constantly. The psychologist gave me pamphlets and breathing exercises. But no pamphlet could explain the chilling certainty that I was no longer alone in my own life. The feeling that something had followed me out of that garage. Edit, wow, okay, I didn't expect this to get so much attention. Thanks for all the messages, guys, seriously. A lot of you are saying the same thing: PTSD, survivor's guilt, hypervigilance. I get it, I really do. My shrink, Dr. Albright, she says all the same stuff, and I'm trying. I'm on the meds, I'm doing the therapy, I'm doing the stupid mindfulness exercises. But here's the thing, and this is the part I haven't even told her. It's the things that don't fit into a neat little diagnostic box, like my car radio. Every morning I get in my car and the radio is set to a dead station. Just static, hissing, empty static. I always listen to the same news station on my commute, 91.5 FM. I set it there every single day. And every single morning I come back to static. Jess doesn't drive my car ever, she has her own, so who's changing it? And a few days ago I couldn't find my car keys. I tore the apartment apart. Jess helped me look for a solid hour, we checked everywhere. Finally, I gave up and was about to call an Uber when Jess found them. They were inside my right winter boot, the one I haven't worn in months, tucked neatly by the front door. I have no memory, absolutely zero, of putting them there. I'm not a forgetful person, I'm a data analyst, for Christ's sake. My brain is all about patterns and order. This isn't me. so please just stop telling me it's all in my head. I know something is wrong. I feel like I'm losing my mind, and the scariest part is that maybe I'm not. Maybe this is real. Please tell me someone else has experienced something like this. I just need to know I'm not going crazy. The breaking point came on a Tuesday morning. It was just a normal morning, depressingly normal. I was standing at the kitchen counter pouring coffee, the sunlight streaming through the window, making little dust motes dance in the air. For a brief, beautiful second, I felt almost okay. Jess came up behind me and wrapped her arms around my waist, resting her chin on my shoulder. "You were having another one of those nights," she said softly into my ear, her voice warm with sleep. I stiffened, the coffee pot hovering over my mug. "A nightmare." "No, not a nightmare, you were just talking, mumbling really." She chuckled a little. "It was kind of creepy." My blood ran cold. I put the pot down with a clatter, spilling a little coffee on the counter. "What did I say, Jess? What exactly did I say?" My voice was sharper than I intended. She pulled back, surprised by my intensity. "Okay, okay, calm down." She closed her eyes for a second, trying to recall the sleepy memory. It was garbled, really low. Something like, she deepened her voice, mimicking a drowsy mumble. "Am waitin', yeah, that was it, and then something about the next." She opened her eyes. "It sounded like you said, 'I'm waiting for the next.' It made no sense. Why, what's wrong?" But I barely heard her question. Her words weren't just words, they were a confirmation, a verdict. A lightning bolt that shot through my body and incinerated every last shred of my denial. It wasn't a memory, it wasn't PTSD, it wasn't all in my head. Because I had never, ever told Jess what Connor's eyes had said to me in that garage. I had never told anyone. There was no possible way for her to know that phrase, "I'll wait for you." And now, those words, or a twisted version of them, were spilling out of my own mouth while I slept, in a voice she didn't recognize. He wasn't just following me anymore. He wasn't just watching, he was inside, he was using my voice. My anxiety morphed into a new, much sharper emotion, pure, undiluted terror. The ghost wasn't haunting my apartment. It was haunting me. "Hey," Jess said, her voice soft and worried, reaching out to touch my arm. "You're white as a sheet, you look like you've seen a ghost." I couldn't answer. I just stared at her, seeing the love and confusion in her eyes, and realized with a sickening lurch that she was living with a stranger. And so was I. That was the beginning of the end. My life, which had been slowly cracking, now began to shatter. The comfortable, rational world I knew dissolved into a paranoid, terrifying landscape where I was both the prisoner and the prison. The fear was no longer a visitor, it was a permanent resident in my own skin. It started with the mirror in the bathroom. One morning, after another sleepless night, I stumbled in, trying to splash some life back into my face. I looked up into my own reflection and I saw him. It wasn't a hallucination, not really. It was my face, my tired, bloodshot eyes, my stubble. But the expression, the stillness behind the eyes was not mine. It was that dead, patient calm, that terrible, waiting expression. I saw my own hand reach out and touch the cold glass, and for a terrifying second I didn't feel like I was the one moving it. The terror wasn't that I was seeing a ghost, it was that the ghost was seeing through my eyes. I let out a sound, a choked, desperate sob, and in a fit of panic I ripped the medicine cabinet mirror off the wall and threw it into the bathtub, where it shattered into 1,000 glittering pieces. After that, I couldn't look at any reflective surface. The big mirror in our bedroom got covered with a bedsheet. I started angling the rearview mirror in my car up at the ceiling. Sleep became the enemy. I was terrified of what I might do, what I might say when I wasn't in control. The fear became tangible. Before even attempting to lie down, I developed a ritual. I would go into the kitchen, gather every single sharp knife from the block, and lock them in my metal toolbox in the hall closet. I hid the key. It was insane, I knew it was, but the thought of waking up to find I had done something unthinkable was far more insane. I'd stay up all night, propped up in bed with every light in the room blazing, fueled by coffee and sheer terror. I'd watch Jess sleep, her face so peaceful, and I'd feel this overwhelming urge to protect her from myself. Our apartment, once our sanctuary, became a tense, silent battlefield. One night she found me standing stock still in the middle of the dark living room. She called my name and I turned slowly, my face a complete blank. "What are you doing?" she whispered, her voice tight with fear. I couldn't tell her I was checking the lock on the closet where the knives were. I couldn't explain the war going on inside my skull. "Just thinking," I said, and my voice sounded alien and flat in my own ears. The next night she moved her things into the guest room. I heard the soft scrape of the chair she wedged under the doorknob. She didn't have to say a word. We both knew she was locking herself in and locking me out. I didn't blame her. I was a stranger in my own home, a ghost haunting the hallways of my own life. I was so profoundly, terrifyingly alone, trapped in a body that no longer felt like it belonged to me. Update, I have to know, I can't live like this anymore. I'm sitting here in the dark and I can feel it him just under the surface. It's like a constant low-grade hum in the back of my mind. Thank you for all the DMs. Some of you think I'm having a psychotic break, some of you think I'm being haunted. At this point, I don't care which it is, I just need proof. I need to see it for myself. I did something, I went online and bought one of those tiny nanny cams. The kind that looks like a USB charger. It's plugged into the wall outlet across from my bed right now. It has night vision and motion detection. I'm going to force myself to sleep tonight. I took a couple of Jess's sleeping pills she was prescribed for her anxiety a while back. I know, it's a stupid idea, but I'm desperate. I need to be completely out. I need to give him it, whatever this is, total control. I'm going to record everything. Tomorrow I'll have an answer. I don't know what I'm going to find, and honestly, I'm not sure what's scarier. Finding nothing and confirming I'm completely insane, or finding something and confirming that I'm not. Either way this ends tomorrow, I'll have proof. I'll see what the man in my body does when I'm gone. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get the little memory card out of the camera. I fumbled it twice, the tiny piece of black plastic skittering across my desk like a frightened insect. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs, each beat a sickening thud of anticipation and dread. Jess was already at work. The apartment was silent except for my own ragged breathing. Finally, I got the card into the reader and clicked open the video file. The first few hours were nothing. Just grainy black and white footage of me tossing and turning. The sleeping pills had knocked me out cold. I fast-forwarded, my finger trembling on the mouse. The time stamp in the corner of the screen crept past midnight, then 1 a.m., then 2 a.m. Nothing, a bitter, hollow laugh escaped my lips. Of course, it was all in my head. I was just a man broken by trauma, chasing shadows. I was about to close the file, ready to call Dr. Albright and admit myself to the hospital when I saw it. Timestamp. 3:17 a.m. The figure in the bed me stopped moving. For a full minute it lay perfectly still like a corpse. Then with a slow, deliberate motion that was utterly devoid of any normal human drowsiness, it sat bolt upright. The movement was stiff, puppet-like. My blood turned to ice. The thing wearing my face stayed sitting there for another minute, head cocked as if listening to something I couldn't hear. Then it swung its legs over the side of the bed. It stood up and walked, not towards the door but towards the bedroom dresser where the bedsheet was draped over the mirror. With that same unnatural slowness, it reached out and pulled the sheet down. It just stood there staring into the mirror, staring at itself, at me. I leaned closer to my monitor, my breath held tight in my chest. The night vision footage bleached out all the color, but I didn't need color to see the expression. It was a perfect void, a blank canvas of a face. And then the mouth on that face, my mouth began to move. There was no sound, the camera had no microphone, but I could read the lips perfectly. I watched paralyzed as my own reflection mouthed two silent, impossible words, a promise being renewed in the dead of night. I'm waiting, I'm still sitting here. The sun has gone down and the screen of my laptop is the only light in the room. The video is paused on that final frame. My face, his eyes, our promise. It's been looping in my head all day. I'm waiting, and in the silence, the final, devastating truth has settled over me. There is no ghost, there is no curse. Connor isn't haunting me from beyond the grave. He never followed me out of that garage, he never had to, he planted a seed. That night in those final seconds when he looked at me with that terrifying calm, he wasn't making a threat. He was giving me a gift, a legacy. He passed all of his emptiness, all of his patient, waiting darkness into me. The trauma of that night, the guilt of taking a life, it didn't just break my mind. It hollowed out a space inside me, and that space has been filled. The part of me that survived, the part that is typing this right now, is just a tenant. The rest of this body, the part that walks in my sleep and speaks in my voice and looks out through my eyes, that part belongs to him now. The real horror isn't that a ghost is waiting for me in some dark, concrete tomb. It's that I am the tomb, I am the parking garage. And the thing inside me is just waiting for the next person to come along. He's waiting for me to finally let go of the wheel. The cost of surviving wasn't a scar or a memory. The cost was me.